a human design manifester, I'm here to initiate. I'm here to inspire, like just by being me. So people are going to do things. So when I see things being imitated, even when I went my route of like healer and wellness girly, and I start seeing people administer medicine in the exact way that I do it, and it's so authentic to me, it'd be like, what the heck?
That's annoying.
You can have that because I'm gonna keep being ahead of my time and just doing what I'm supposed to do. I learned that it's not even about me. It's just the mission, right?
It's just
the
the mission. Welcome back to another episode of Women of Tomorrow. If you are new here, thank you so much for stopping and clicking on this video. Women of Tomorrow is a platform dedicated to the success and longevity of women all over the world. And so if that's you, please take a moment and continue watching. If you love it, like, share, and subscribe. Ashley.
Hey girl, hey.
Hi. Thank you for being here.
Of course, darling. Thank you for having me.
You look beautiful.
Thank you. So do you.
Thank you.
So cute.
Wow. We just had so much talk before this.
I know.
I love to just okay, so what I will say is there's so many things that I want to speak about that we've already kind of just talked about behind the scenes, but I think where were you born and raised? And did you move around a lot?
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I need to know.
Okay. So I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Yes, black people live in Milwaukee because people like it's actually super hood there.
Is it?
Yes. It's really bad.
It's hood.
It's getting better though.
Okay.
Kind of. Anywho, so I was born in Milwaukee, kind of like raised for a big part of my life, of my younger years in Las Vegas. We kind of moved back and forth between Milwaukee and Vegas for a while.
Really?
So I went to kindergarten in Vegas, and then I was back in first grade in Milwaukee. Then I was in first grade in kindergarten, and then we finally, my mom just fully was back in Milwaukee second grade. So from then I was in Milwaukee, and I moved so much. When you talk about moving around a lot, one, that alone, like multiple elementary schools.
Yeah.
But then we moved to a lot of different homes, just trying to find stability. So I would say, I think I went to 3 different elementary schools. In 6th grade, I went to 3 different schools in 6th grade.
Wow.
And because we were moving. And then middle school, I think I might have lived in 2 different homes. And then high school was like where I lived. I was able in high school to, I think we may have only lived in 2 homes. So I would say between 1st grade and 12th grade, we may have lived in like 10 different homes.
Wow.
Lots of moving around. And none of it it felt so normal at this point. It was just like, my mom and my stepdad, they owned a lot of different homes, or they were buying homes. They would buy another home and we'd move into the other one, or the neighborhood would be really, really bad. So they move us into the next space and the next space. And then finally my stepdad bought my mom like this mini mansion off of like Sherman in Washington. And that place, it was so big. It was so beautiful. We all had our own rooms. It was dope. Then I went to college. And so...
this was like at the end of high school?
Mm-hmm. It was like, it was like... I think I was a sophomore when we moved there, because I didn't know I got like my first car there and all of that. And child, I got my first car there and my car was stolen within a month.
Because it was hood?
Yeah, it's hood, and I was a little absent-minded, and so I left my keys in the trunk. Like the key hanging in the trunk, and the boys could have just said something, right? But you know, it's the hood, so they stole it, and we found it like crashed at Washington High School or something, and crashed into a tree.
Dang.
Yeah, I know. But my stepdad got me another car like a month later, which I was grateful for. And yeah, honestly, I've moved a lot even from there. Like my whole life, I realized it's been like this.
Because didn't you live in California at one point?
Yeah, so I went to college in Tennessee, Nashville. And I probably lived in a different apartment each year. I lived in the dorms, and then I moved to one apartment, then another apartment. I didn't really think about that connection. And then I moved from Nashville. I went to grad school in Chicago. I went to Loyola University. And then from Loyola, from Chicago, I moved to LA.
Dang.
And then from LA, when I was pregnant with my son, we moved to San Antonio, which was the worst 22 months of my life. Outside of having my child, it was horrible.
Really?
I hated San Antonio. Sorry to anybody that's in San Antonio.
It wasn't for you.
It was not. And then we went back to LA, and now I'm in Atlanta. Lots of moving around.
This is the last place that you've lived in Atlanta?
And the longest. Like, I've had the most stability. I've been in my home that I'm in now for 3 years.
Okay.
I'm ready to go though. I'm ready to just to upgrade. I'm ready for a bigger space. That's all. Okay. But I like Atlanta.
You like Atlanta? Feels like home. Like you could be here for a while.
I feel like Atlanta will be a home base for me for sure. Like, I like that. I love to travel, so I like that I can. It's
get
not
in and out.
Yeah, anywhere. And when I lived in LA, it was 5 hours to get to visit my family and things like that. So I like that. The airport, I like all of the things. People complain about Atlanta airport, but I got all the tricks and trades. I'm right in 30 minutes.
Yeah, why do they complain?
I don't know.
It's not a problem at all. It's great.
Girl, I get through 30, 40 minutes where I need to go.
But do you pay for like the TSA pre-check?
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. And digital ID and all the
everything
things.
that you can get to get through. That might be a big difference, though, if you're not willing to invest in those kind of like upgrades, which is getting kind of full in there now. Yeah. Because now the lines be the same.
Yeah, it be kind of crazy. So the digital ID line be long, and then the TSA pre-check line be long, and then the clear TSA pre-check. I'm like, yo.
Yeah, even though I don't want them to raise the prices, I do want to figure out like how can we get it back to where a
little bit more exclusive.
Yeah.
That's Atlanta for you, though.
That's Atlanta. Okay, and so what is it about Atlanta? Because Atlanta gets a bad rep.
See,
why do you love it?
As soon as I moved here from LA, like I knew why Spirit had me move, because I felt like I was getting a little caught up in the superficiality of things living in LA, and the work that I do, what I'm called to do, and it's hard to because it's your culture, you know? And so what I love about Atlanta is, one, seeing people that look like me everywhere. Like, it was a culture shock at first. And when I did live in LA, I made sure I was in like prominent, I was in Ladera Heights, like all the like Crenshaw Manor, like the black neighborhoods. But just the culture here is very like, I feel like it's, here, I got you. Let me hold your hand. Let me help you out. Like, it's very much like, let's build together. I made more money in Atlanta than I did in LA, even though LA is and I feel like because of like that feeling of being grounded. But also, like, when I look at my astro card, like the one that tells you like where you are in the world and like how it affects you astrologically, like Atlanta like has a better effect on me, like a more grounding effect on me. So I feel so grounded here. I feel so I just feel like a different sense of community. I love my LA family, and I miss LA because I haven't been there in a year. But being here, I feel home. I feel another level of beautiful, you know. I feel like I could do whatever, however, whenever, you know. Seeing so many people that look like me, like bossing up and leveling up and living life of ease, it's just super inspiring, you know, and motivating.
I think that's what I've always loved about Atlanta. Like, even though it has so many, it does have aspects of it that I feel are very dense, heavy energy, a lot going on. Yeah. But it's just like, when I first came here, it just feels like anything can happen. Yep. And where else can you go where being brown is important? It matters. You know, and you're not just like saturated by. I feel like the stereotypes, you kind of can break through stereotypes here. Versus like other places. I've lived in LA. My family's from California. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, it's definitely.
And then I also am noticing that I'm able to find the things that I loved about LA here in Atlanta. Like, I love to go hiking, and I found so many different places. It's so beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Many trails, so many hikes, so many mountains.
Yeah.
I'm a smoothie and plant-based eating type of girl, and I'm finding a lot of different places. Just today, I went to this place. I think it's called like Wadada Health or something, and it reminds me of Simply Wholesome, like a mini Simply Wholesome. So it was just like, okay, like I'm constantly finding little gems here.
Yeah.
And I love that so much. Like, I used to go to Leimert Park all the time, and I feel like going over there by like just the West End part of Atlanta reminds me of Leimert.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know if I've even ever been to Leimert.
What?
Honestly.
Girl, I frequent it all the time. Them drums.
That's what the vibe?
They're playing the drums. It's like, it's just a beautiful culture. There's artwork everywhere. There's herbs and all the things you want to buy. Shea butter. You got folks.
So is it like a stroll through park, or is it like a round Central Park
it's
type
like it's not even a park.
Okay. It's a street.
It's just like there's this long street, and there's businesses on both sides, and there is a little park over to the right, but it's really just like a space where a lot of vendors come on the weekends, and it's a lot of like Black pride, Caribbean pride, African pride, like all across the diaspora. Like it's all types of people coming together, and they playing the drums, and women are dancing around, the kids are there. It's just so much like beautiful culture.
When's the last time you've been there?
The last time I worked a retreat in LA in 2023 in the summer, and I haven't been back since then. I went to so I'm itching because I haven't been in a year now. So I'll be there
now.
This
I gotta
year.
make sure I go. Is it just a weekend thing, or is it?
I mean, yeah. For the vibes, like the weekend, and then they had Juneteenth crazy like. They had it like shut down. I think like 2 years ago was crazy. Like shut down in a good way. Like they had like people was on top of it's like a Burger King and stuff. People were on top of there. Like they were on top of the building. Like it was so beautiful. Down, it was amazing. Like it was. So those parts of LA, I love LA, like real LA.
Yeah.
The other stuff,
like LA is fire. It's like the industry makes it a little.
Yeah, that's Hollywood and stuff. But I never really. I lived in West LA. Like I was over by the water. Like LA. Yeah.
So you do different kind of work, and you are a musician, artist, you're a producer, a writer, because we're going to get into that. What is it? Journey of a Goddess. And a facilitator of, wellness and retreats, and I don't know everything that you do, so I want to talk about it.
That's why I always say a multidisciplinary healer and artist, because I have so many. I've lived so many lives. I lived so many lives.
Do you feel like you've lived so many lives simply because you moved around so much and had to adapt and become a new person, and you were like forced to like explore the depths of yourself?
Yes, absolutely. And it started at such a young age where it was like I had to learn how to accept, adapt, and really like be able to create community in every new space. Being the new girl in school.
Yeah.
Kids can be cruel. You know what I'm saying? Always being a new girl. And the thing was, like, my mom was really big on, like, we were dressed in the nines all the time. Like, my mom grew up street, so she did what she had to do, and we didn't repeat an outfit like we did. And so being the new girl, I had to kind of learn how to, like, adapt. And then, you got the boys looking, but then the girls, like, who is that? So, I've had to learn how to move through envy and inspiration and all the things, and so
that's
like
deep.
Like having to move around and having to I feel like that's exactly why I've lived many lives, because I've had to learn different parts of who I am based on the scenery, like, you know what I'm saying, based on the city, the state, the job, like, and I'm also a person, I'm a human design manifester, so I'm always bringing something new into the ethers. Like I have always been a person that just did what I just walked to the beat of my own drum, and I've been like ahead of my time. So like I was the one that cut all my hair off before people was like cutting their hair off, so people thought I was crazy
before
when I did
TmrO?
Yes, like no, I went back from Tennessee State. I went back from like a homecoming, and my hair was like a little curly afro. Everybody was looking at me like, is this girl crazy? But, you know, Instagram had just started, so it wasn't a community. 3-4 years later, everybody cutting their hair off. Like, you know, but I was joked on. I got joked on and ridiculed. Yeah. And when I was in the South, like at Tennessee State, coming from the Midwest, I was a city girl, so I was coming with 22-inch weave before the girls was wearing weave. So, like, I've always just been ahead of my time, you know, learning, growing, all the things. So
yeah. And how did it feel, like, one, going through like the criticism while you were leading the pack, and then looking back and being like, y'all are just late?
Yeah, I've had to. So in the beginning, it felt lonely. Like, it felt really lonely, like, doing things. I've always followed, like, this just inner voice. I've learned later that it's my intuition, and what Queen of Fool calls that impeccable listening. I've learned that that's what that is, and that's where I've gotten to in my life. But before, it would just be like, something tells me to do it, and I feel like I need to do it, so I'm going to do it. But it would be lonely because no one would understand that walk. Like, I'm the first generation college student, first generation grad school student. So I'm in grad school. I went to a HBCU. So now I'm at a PW. I'm in Loyola in Chicago, and that's in the Gold Coast. So around all of these very wealthy white folks, and I'm the only black. And so it was just like, and I'm getting my master's in social work. So I'm learning that black women are at the bottom of the totem pole and da-da-da-da. So I'm like learning all these things, and I'm feeling like super like crazy, like what is going on? So I'm like, I'm just gonna be blacker than black, because it was like almost like weird wearing weave and just doing these things around that time frame because of all that I was learning, you know? And so when I would go home and I'm getting made fun of, it felt very lonely, but I always knew why. And then I, at that time, I read Assata Shakur's autobiography, and she talked about how wearing our hair was a political statement. So I like did these things very intentional, but it was very lonely. So then, you know, once people kind of caught on, at first it'd be like, I told you so, or it'd be like, I would feel away because I didn't get the credit. It wouldn't be like you inspired me. It'd just be like, but I would know I inspired.
Clearly.
And so it would feel annoying, honestly, sometimes. But I've gotten to a point where after doing a lot of self-study and studying human designs, as a human design manifester, I'm here to initiate. I'm here to inspire, like, just by being me. So people are going to do things. So when I see things being imitated, even when I went my route of like healer and wellness girly, and I start seeing people administer medicine in the exact way that I do it, and it's so authentic to me, it'd be like, what the heck? That's annoying. But you know, but then I'm like, you know what?
That's annoying.
You can have that, because I'm gonna keep being ahead of my time and just doing what I'm supposed to do, because it ain't even, I learned that it's not even about me. It's just the mission, right?
It's just the mission. It's just the mission.
And I'm, for whatever reason, the heavy is the head, the wears the crown. I'm the one that got to go first. I'm the martyr in a lot of situations. So to answer that question, it felt lonely, annoying, but at the end of the day, I feel just so like honored that the divine trusts me that much, that I'm that girl in that way, and like I can say that now. Before it just I'd shy away, or I'd just be like, but now it's like, whatever you say don't even bother me. I'm mantraed up, I'm prayed up, like I'm so good, like you know.
That's so beautiful, because I feel like I'm coming into a place of that same, of just like I think I used to always question myself when things around me didn't make sense. Well, I think initially things never made sense. Like even from 6 years old at church, I was just like, church ain't all the way. Something was not, you know. It was just like, I'm supposed to come every week, and it's about like the love of Christ and God, but then I'm hearing a lot of like punishment and destroy the earth, and you better not do this, and don't shine too bright. Like these messages even at 6 is like, if I didn't fully understand it, I still felt it. I still felt the kind of like the oppression that I was feeling about the adults that were around me. Mm-hmm. They didn't feel they didn't feel necessarily empowered, but more so just like in a kind of like a trance. So after feeling that way at that young age, and then not really getting any answers, or even maybe I didn't even ask, I just was like weirded out, I started changing to like, okay, well, maybe it's me, and started questioning myself. And I am finally at a point where it's like, no, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to validate myself. Mm-hmm. And I don't need anyone to understand. Yeah. Like, this feels good for me, mm-hmm. and I'm just gonna live here. And it's helped me so much to be like happier.
I love that for you, and I actually really see you, and I understand that. When I was 7, mm-hmm. Remember I was telling you we was moving back and forth.
Yeah.
So we were visiting Milwaukee from Vegas, and I think we actually ended up staying, but I was 7 years old, and I walked in my grandmother's room, and she was on her knees praying, and she was speaking in tongues, and I was like, whatever you're doing, I want to learn that. 7. So she took me under her wing, and I'm 7 with 40 and 50-year-olds, and I'm going to prayer circles, I'm going to revivals, I'm going to intercessions, and I be tarrying for what they call tarrying for the Holy Ghost. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus, for hours. And what I realize now is that I was chanting mantra. So when you chant a mantra over and over and over, at some point you end up crossing over, and spirit takes over. And so on the eve of my 8th birthday, so right before, it was probably like maybe 11:50. So this is how I tell you how devoted I am, because it's 11:50 p.m. I'm 7, and I'm praying and asking God, I want the Holy Ghost, da 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 da, and I end up getting the gift of speaking in tongues at 8 o'clock, at midnight. So as I turned 8, that was my birthday gift. They would ask, what do you want for your birthday? I just want the Holy Ghost. And so I received that gift, and so since then I've been able to live between these two realms of being able to tap in, being able to channel, being able to grasp all these things. So I was in church, I was taking notes, I was really listening to the pastor, all like really taking it in, and some of those lessons about other people and just other like condemnation and just certain type of judgment I didn't really resonate with or understand, because I would always feel like, well, if God is love in all these different things, how come if somebody that grows up in India, like, and they're practicing Hinduism or Tantra or whatever, they're gonna go to hell because they don't practice the same thing that we practice? And that just didn't resonate well with me at all. And so it's not by accident that I'm in the place where I am now, where I'm completely indoctrinated, but grew up in that type of environment where I understand and I appreciate and I give honor to my foundation, that apostolic Pentecostal Christian foundation. However, I've realized that there is no this or that. It's an and. Like, you can do it all. Like, I notice like newer Christians and some of these new Christian influencers, they're telling you, oh, it's the devil, or it's bad for you to, burn sage or use this or use that. But it's like, it's actually all of it works together. It all works together. In order to really put on the full armor of God, you have to be able to work on every single layer and aura of who you are. So you use energy work, you use sound, you use herbal therapy, homeopathy, aromatherapy, all these different things to heal your body. God put all of these things in us, for us. So to condemn other people's practices, indigenous practices from other cultures, it is not actually Christ-like at all. You know what I'm saying? And so I would feel these ways and I would see these ways, and I'm like, that's not right. At the end of the day, one thing that we all can agree in is that God is love. And at the end of the day, if people are using these tools to get closer to God, why condemn them? What do you know? You know nothing. You know nothing at all. None of us know anything. We're just all doing the best that we can. We all just are supposed to be showing love. So when they do that and when they focus on that, I'm like, you're off. You're not in alignment, because you need to be focused on your mission. Jesus was focused on his mission. Gandhi was focused on his mission. Muhammad was focused on his mission. You know what I mean? The wisdom goddesses, they're all focused on their mission, and the mission is to continue to just, help people elevate, give love, have community, you know what I mean, and dispel negativity, dispel demonic energy, demonic forces, you know what I mean. So I completely see you when it comes to like something ain't right.
Yeah, and you had a great, or you had a you were connected. You were able to build that foundation of, I guess, what is it called? Worship and practice and things like that.
Yeah, bhakti.
Yeah. So as you move through life, as you're learning more, you still have that muscle memory.
Yes.
To know how to tap in and be devoted in that way, no matter what it is that you're focusing on at that time. So many of us don't have that. It's like a combination of open-mindedness, flexibility, but also like this strong muscle of devotion that you have. In order to do that, and sometimes we get locked in. Like if we go so hard one way, it's like
it's the only way.
That's the only. That's the only way. But one important thing that you mentioned was you were saying, speaking in tongues. In your experience, it's mantra?
No.
Okay.
So you can do mantra, right? Okay. And mantra is
mantra is like, I want the Holy Ghost. I want that, like repeating
repeating something. Like for now, when I practice mantra, I practice some Paratan or Shri Vidya or tantric Bijasi mantras that I've received from my guru mama, Aja Soleil, shout out to her. And so I might be saying Om, Shreem, Hreem. But if you go into this devoted state and I'm chanting that, and then at some point, spirit takes over and you're in I'm in a whole nother like realm, and I can download messages, hear, channel messages, and the same thing happens if I was just thank you Jesus, 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 with devotion. At some point you cross over and it's like this. It's a feeling that comes up, and it's just allowing it to come up. And so when I speak in tongues, and some people call it light language and, different things like that, I am channeling, like I'm hearing messages. I'm like, it's like this direct conversation with spirit, with God. And then, or sometimes I'm hearing messages from somebody's ancestors, like, or my own ancestors and things like that. It's like having a foot in the other world, like being between the worlds and being able to tap in and hear from that world. And I used to think you could only speak in tongues in church, or you could only do these things because, of course, I was taught it from a very limited space. But as I have expanded, like I got my master's in psychology. I minored in philosophy. So I studied New Testament, Old Testament, ethics. I've read so many different books because I went on this journey of just really understanding knowledge of self, starting with the knowledge of self by supreme understanding, and then I just continued to like build and unfold. And then I wanted to just know more, because I'm like, why not know more? Like, why not know more? And so as I began to just study and learn and dive into different type of cultures, I got my yoga teacher certification. So I was able to learn a lot more practices in that way. And I really learned that everybody is teaching the same things, just in a different way. There's so many, it's one God, there's so many routes to God, and no matter what route you take, you're going to get to that destination. So instead of being like, I know the best way to get to Chattanooga, it's like you can go that way, that way, that way. As long as you get to Chattanooga, you good. So why be so focused on condemning someone else's journey to Chattanooga?
No, exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's the way people do. I guess people who have not, they don't understand themselves. They don't know who they are. They don't fully have an understanding of who they are. So all they can do is kind of just like repeat things that they have heard or seen, have been told, and they don't really look outside the box.
You was talking about speaking in tongues. You were asking about that.
You answered, because I was like, I've experienced that before. Not speaking in tongues, but repeating something so many times to where I started feeling myself. And the way I could describe it is just like I felt so light. I started feeling like, hold on, like I'm almost like I'm high, but it's just high off like nothing. I just was like, and so I got a little intimidated, and I stopped
yourself.
I stopped because it felt so incredible to where
it's like intoxicating.
It was intoxicating, and I was like, oh, so I stopped. But I was like, I'm gonna get back to this because what was that?
Yeah. So right there, like it's like almost like that jumping off the cliff, right? It's like. Right once you get past that point, it's like now your ancient self can come through. Now you can open up and tap into these codes and these, the DNA, into the things that haven't even been like tapped into, and who knows what comes through. But this is when you activate all these gifts, so much when we talk about like our ancestors and the epigenetic genes and things like that. We typically think about the generational curses and pathologies, but there's so many gifts too. Like I come
generational gifts.
Yes, I come from a long line of healers. I be hearing stories and stuff, and I'm like, wow, and I can truly sense that I'm so tapped in and connected to them because I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to tap in and go beyond the trauma, beyond the indoctrination. So I'm constantly hearing and receiving even more gifts, and I'm like being more and more surprised on how things are transpiring or manifesting, or how I'm seeing and hearing and feeling, or my different clairs are, becoming even more strong. And when I say clairs, there are different types of, the different ways where you discern, or the different ways where you hear from spirit, and seeing those begin to increase. Do you know the clairs? Okay, so clairvoyant.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like the clear seeing. My mom is extremely clairvoyant. Like it'd be crazy how she just be seeing stuff. And then there's claircognizance, which a lot of people confuse clairvoyance with claircognizance, because claircognizance would be like what people see as like Miss Cleo and stuff, because they just know. They have this just knowing, and they don't know how they know, but they know. And typically people that have like the gift of gab and stuff, they're claircognizant, because it's just stuff just comes to them. And then you have clairaudient, which is one of my extremely potent clairs, and that's when you have a clear hearing. So when people speak to me and they're saying stuff to me, they're talking, but I'm hearing like their tones and frequencies. I'm hearing stuff on another level, on like a supernatural level. So I'm sensing all the things outside of what they're saying, right?
Wow.
Even sometimes I can hear chatter from like other realms, and like high-pitched noises, sounds like that. This is what makes me a good sound healer too, and like a great musician, because that clairaudience. And then there's clairgustance, which is like clear tasting, where sometimes people like, they just have these tastes, or like you have Big Mama used to make a pie and you just start tasting that or whatever, and then you have clairalience.
I got that.
And then there's clairalience, which is like smelling like I could smell a negative, I could smell an entity, I could smell a negative spirit, I could smell all different, I just know from the smell, I'm like, something ain't right in here, like, right away. Then there's clairsentience, which a lot of people, they say I'm an empath, I feel, but that's clairsentience. Like the evolved version of an empath is the clairsentient, because you're able to feel through the things, but you know how to like observe but not absorb. So you observe what you're feeling, but you're not taking it in as if it's yours, right?
Okay, can I ask you about that, the empath, because I feel I've associated kind of with that like definition, because however, I would like to learn how to evolve higher, because for me, typically I either feel it prior or feel it after. I don't really realize, I guess so I call myself socially awkward, and then people don't quite get it. They're like, you're not socially awkward. But in my mind, I'm going crazy. But I guess my natural love for people, just like, I'm not gonna say I love people like I'm outgoing, let me be around my people, but I'm just like, we're people, like that kind of just innate love, right? I think people can't tell because I'm authentically like, hi, like, but I might be like nervous, or I think what it is a bunch of anticipation.
Yeah.
Of what is going to happen. Just like thought after thought after thought, to the point where I'm not thinking it, I'm feeling it. And so I'm like, I feel it afterwards and before. I don't feel it during, and I don't really know what to make of it, other than just to like do my best to release the energy that I feel. Like, for instance, if I'm sitting with, you, depending on, I guess, how anxious I get in my body, will determine how much I need to release later. And so, what do you think?
So, one, that you are that's clairsentience, right? Because everyone feels it differently. Like, I have sister friends that are in this spiritual realm that can feel what's going on in the illnesses that's going on in people's bodies. I can feel like if somebody's knee, like if they hit their knee, I'm feeling it too, right? Or like when the moments where you've had anxiousness, I felt it. Like, you know what I mean? But I just observe it and just, So definitely clairsentience is normal to have to cleanse your energy after, you take your salt baths, you sleep with some aromatherapy, have some tea tree, some peppermint, some eucalyptus, rosemary, like different herbs to help draw out energy that doesn't belong to you. So that's absolutely normal. But as you were speaking, one thing that came up to me was just being more present in it. Because if you were present, a little bit more present, then you would probably feel it in the moment. But because you're in your head thinking, you're actually not necessarily present with the body. So that's why you're feeling it a lot more after. Because now I ain't around all these people. I'm not all of this energy.
Okay, I got you.
And now I'm sensing all the things that I was picking up. You know what I'm saying?
That makes sense.
And so now I need to release it, So I think your practice will be present. It would be, all right, let's go.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm that girl. We here. I have
Being
a light.
present.
Yeah.
So possibly I'm avoiding presence
Because you don't want to feel all that. All the stuff that you would typically feel potentially, right?
Potentially.
Or having that like concept of being socially awkward. It's like being avoidant. That being present with the socialness, you know what I'm saying, with the social interaction. Yeah, because I feel like I'm going to be awkward anyway. So, I'm going to think about it and all these things. When, I feel like it's just practicing presence. And I feel like I feel like I'm awkward too, but I just embrace it. I think that's what makes
You feel like you're awkward?
Yeah. I'm goofy, I'm awkward, I'm silly, but I embrace it. Like, I'd rather be that than be like some little stoic lame. Like, it's what makes things excited and cool. Like, I'd rather be around somebody that's feeling all awkward and stumbling and stuff, because it's like, it's just fun, like, So it's being present with who you are, and it is what it is, and the right people will be attracted and the wrong people will flee. And thank you, sayonara.
Sayonara.
Yeah,
I believe that does come, and that's where I'm at right now. Authenticity, as generic as it may sound right now, that it's just like,
it's the medicine. It's the antidote to.
It clears out whatever needs to be cleared out, as long as you're willing to let things go.
Yep.
Okay, switch subjects, because I want to learn, like, before you got into healing as a profession, what were you doing? You were in grad school, and what was the work? You went in to help people because you were in social work.
Yeah, so I actually, when I went to college, I actually went to study theater. And there was this girl at my orientation that was like, it isn't really like the best to get a degree in theater because of like all the things. And so I've always been that person that people came to for help. I've always been that safe space for people. I've always been that warm presence. I've always just been that way. Yeah. So I was just like, okay, well, I guess I'll do psychology. But why was that girl a theater major? I ended up seeing her before, and she was in theater. Like, because I love theater, so I still like went to different clubs and things like that. And I saw her, and I'm like, but that interaction happened for whatever reason I needed to happen. But I'm like, So anyway, so I studied psychology and I fell in love with that study, and then I minored in philosophy. So I saw myself being a school psychologist and a psychotherapist and like all of these things. And then I went to pursue my master's in social work. And as I was doing my clinicals, I'd be working at Urban Outfitters in the Gold Coast with all these rich folks and these fresh, I mean, I'm talking about the freshest Asians I've ever seen, like so fresh. So I would be inspired, but also like, wow, there's so much money and I don't have that money, right? Then I would go to my clinicals, which would be like at Chicago Child Care Society, Hyde Park, and I would be working with teenagers that were like middle school, 12 and 13, that had children. And so I would have to like support them. And so being at Hyde Park, kids would be coming to the school with gunshot wounds and like it's normal. And like there were like polices with like rifles and stuff all around. So it was just like, yeah, just like as the kids are walking to school, it's just it was like a zoo. Like it was like normal for kids, like little elementary school kids, whatever, to be walking while police officers are just standing there with their rifles and stuff. Like it was, so my mind was like really going crazy because I was seeing like so many different things.
These different
worlds. And it felt like I was having to, keep, like what I was learning was like, I actually wasn't going to be able to make any change. I was going to keep things the way they are, like as a social worker, in the way that I wanted to. I felt like it was just keeping the system, maintaining the system, and that it felt so horrible in my body. I was so depressed around that time. I was like going to therapy myself. I remember having times where I'd be driving and I'd be like, I just want to crash, like, and not die, but get a break. And that's when I started to learn about depression and things like that, because it was like I was experiencing so many extremes on so many levels, and I didn't understand like where I fit in. And so I was like, honestly, F all of this, I'm moving to LA and I'm pursuing acting. So because that's what I truly wanted to do. Like I wanted to act. That was what I always wanted to do. So even when I was in grad school in Chicago, I was going to the I can't remember what the studio was, but I was in acting classes. Even there, it would just be something I would do to just be in my creativity and be someone else and do something different. And just, I've always been that girl. Like as a little kid, I was either writing songs, writing poetry, or like acting or performing for my family. So I moved to LA, and within a month of moving there, I ended up, this is all just like serendipitous, I ended up being in a acting class with Phaedra, who casted like she casted Angela Bassett in What's Love Got to Do with It. And just like I was around like all these heavy hitters, and I just like ended up being in the right place at the right time. And I ended up booking a show, and I booked Black Boots, and so I was in Black Boots, and I just was in plays and in music videos and like just doing the damn thing. And then I ended up knowing that I needed more experience. I ended up being in acting classes, and a lot of my friends now, they're like in this movie and that show and that thing and like all the things. And so I go on acting classes. I ended up writing my own series because I needed more work for my reels, and I didn't want to keep waiting for work. So I wrote, produced, and starred in my own show, Journey of a Goddess.
I started watching like 3 episodes. I was hooked. I ain't gonna lie. Because I didn't know what to expect. But we're aligned with the message, but I find myself like, this is lighthearted and it's still informative. Okay, continue.
Thank you. So it's like comedy, but like, and then it was crazy because I feel like I was foreshadowing my life, because I wasn't any of those things that the character was at the time.
Wow.
So it was like
very
crazy.
Impressed because to star in your own production, and you're the writer.
And it's quality too. It ain't trash.
It was nice.
Yeah.
And this was like, I mean, the videos I saw, they were like 9-10 years ago.
Yeah, this was 2015.
Wow.
Yeah, I did this in 2015. So yeah.
So that kind of like, it helped you expand into directing and writing and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So because I ended up learning, I had to learn all of these hats, right? Because I had to produce, because who was going to find the set? Who was going to get the cast? I had to cast, I had to produce, I had to direct, because I'm like, I see it in my head. I had to learn how to write a script. And shout out to I cannot think of her name right now. I think it's I don't even want to mess it up. But shout out to her for teaching me how to write a script. She really heavily helped me write those first two episodes, and then after that I was able to go and just keep it going. And it was so beautiful because it was about a woman that was healing. It was about this spiritual journey and about having one background, but she couldn't see herself, right? She couldn't see herself the way other people view her because she was still trying to she was holding on to the past or guilt and shame and like all of these different things. And I feel like so many people can resonate with her story. And as we were writing season 2, pandemic hit, so never finished it, but I still to this day get so many people that hit me up and write me about the show and just how it has.
Would you ever do it again?
I would.
The right circumstances?
I feel like, I feel like I would probably redo it because I mean, I'm so different. I don't know if I would want to star in again or if I would want to like get someone to do it and just do all the things. But I love storytelling. I can
tell because the stories were there versus like, you know, someone, you didn't go to school for that. So it was just in you. And a lot of people just like, I see so many artists, they're like, they just started singing like a year ago. And it's just like, I want to do this. In their interviews, they're like, well, what made you get into music? Like, I just love music. And I'm just like, everybody loves music. Like, is that the reason why you got into it? So I'm looking at, and not even knowing, you know, not knowing your background, but just looking at it for the first time. And I'm like, this is good. Like, this is really good. So y'all gotta go. Journey of a Goddess.
If you go to my website, thejourneyhealingoasis.com, you'll be able to watch the full episodes, but the short version of the episodes are on YouTube for free. So,
so that's what I was watching.
The shorter version. So like the first episode, you didn't get to see kind of like how it ended and how she turned everything around. So back then, that was like my way of making some money because people were like either renting or buying the whole series. And so you would get like the clip. But like if you hooked, you want to know like more you want to know what happened and all the things. So that was a really beautiful time. That was a great time. I learned so much about myself. I grew so much. There were people that didn't believe in me. And again, a lot of the cast, they're in show. Like I was able to help. As a manifester, my goal was to do everything that I was supposed to do for me, but it actually helped catapult a lot of my peers that are in different shows right now. Like if anyone was to go see, they would see probably 4 to 5 of those people. They've been all of them in the show have been heavy hitters, and I love all of them. But they're all in BT, ABC, like all the things. And but for me, I knew, like, as I was in the role of acting, it was something that I was passionate about, but I knew it wasn't my calling. Because even what I was doing with Journey of a Goddess, it was helping people heal. It was bringing people their light. And I didn't know that then, but now as I'm where I am 10 years later, and I was telling one of my really good friends, Michelle, who's an actress, and when we would be going to acting classes and stuff, I'd be like, I don't know if I want to do like the whole auditioning thing and stuff like that. Like I see myself like an Oprah, and I didn't understand what I meant by then, but it was like how Oprah, like she did a lot of different things to help people change their lives, and then she acted too. Like she was an act, and they were really great roles, but you don't see her as just an actress.
No.
And I kept saying that for me, like it was like I didn't get the joy of the hustle and bustle of the auditions and the this and the that. Like it just wasn't something in me, but I did get the joy. Exactly. But I got the joy and the thrill of creating something and writing something and seeing it come in real time and it be able to last forever. And it actually came from the ethers out of me. Like I channeled it and it came, you know? And so, that's what I love that. And, you know, that's what
showed me.
And I ended up, as I'm on the top of my game, I ended up getting pregnant with my son and moving to San Antonio. I was 8 months pregnant. My son's dad, His job moved us there. And that was my pandemic before the pandemic because I lost my identity. Like, I was literally at the top of my...
Being in a relationship?
Well, like when I moved to San Antonio, I was like becoming a mom and I was in a relationship, but I was sharing a home. I was no longer the actress, all that I had grew to become and love. I lost all of that. I gave it all up. To be a mom and do this family thing. I didn't know then that I could have done it all. I had no clue how to. I didn't have an example, in that way. And when I moved to San Antonio, I didn't have any friends. My family wasn't there. And so having my son, it was beautiful, and I'm so grateful that I chose him. There was moments, though, where I was looking at him, and he was looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, what did I just get myself into? Like, wow. What did I do?
That's a real thing.
And I didn't have any help. And having a child is a communal thing, right? They say it takes a village to raise a child, and it was just me. And my son's dad was at work all day. And so I was battling postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. Like, I was losing my mind. And so I had to go, I had to like figure out like how to find myself again. Like, I would look in the mirror and I would not know who was in front of me. I was 80 pounds heavier. It's me and this baby, and I don't have my friends. I'm the first one to have a child, so they don't even know what I'm going through. They don't know what I need. My mom came the first week. My son's dad's mom came the second week. And then after that, it was just me, because he was at work. He would be at work from like 9. Like, he would leave at 9 and probably come back at 9. Wow. So all day. And so I had to,
I can know.
Yeah. And so we had our own breakdowns and we had our own things going on. So it was just like, where was there room for me to breathe? So I had to start all the way over. I was like in this sunken place, and I had to crawl out. And every time I would find myself coming back up, something would trigger me. So I started going to church. I tried doing yoga. Like, I tried doing all of these different things, and I started having like dreams and visions. This is like when all of my like gifts started to really like tap in, because it was like, we need to pull you out. So I would start having dreams and visions and hearing different things. And I was substitute teaching, and I remember Spirit telling me like to look up Reiki. And I didn't know what Reiki was at all. I looked it up, and I saw that there was a energy healing certification course that was available. And it was in LA, but we were in San Antonio. And I'm like, well, okay, what's that about? But I'm hearing it. So I was like, okay. And I remember telling my son's dad how much I hated being in San Antonio. Like, I had hated it. I had ended up meeting 2 friends there, one at one period, and then we moved to another place. And then I met another woman, and she's still my friend to this day. And they were like my saving grace. But I was in such a sunken place, and I remember hearing that. And then a week later, he got a job promotion that took us back to LA. Oh, wow. And so it was like kind of this thing where I was like, I'm praying, I'm doing my devotionals, I'm writing, I'm in church, I'm doing all these things, just trying to like find what is going to get Ashley back. Yeah, like how am I going, who am I? And what is my role? Because I'm the type of person, whatever I do, I want to do it excellently. So at that time, it was about me being a mom. And so it all went into my son, but it was like not into me. So when we moved back to LA, I had applied for that job. I applied for that certification course. When I called her, she was like, literally, she had just put it out that day, and I applied. Like, so it was like, she's like, how did you find it? I'm like, I don't know. And so I ended up working as I ended up going back into work as a behavioral therapist, because that was another thing. Once I finished like social work, I became a behavioral therapist.
What is a behavioral therapist compared to like a traditional therapist or just a therapist? So
basically, we work with we use the technique of applied behavioral analysis. So we help to work with children on the spectrum. Okay. We help children, whether they're on the autism spectrum, whether they have ADHD or just different type of mental or emotional disorders. Yeah. And we help to put the dysfunctional behavior on extinction and help them to have a more functional behavior. So typically every behavior has an antecedent, right? It has a reason to why, and then there's a conclusion behind the behavior. And so we kind of assess. I was working in the home. I had an Asian home, I had a Jewish home, I had a Russian home, and I had a Hispanic home. And I was so grateful to be in the home and see the way the families worked and really be in there and work with the children and help the parents, like, support the child and put I was so good at it too, like put the behavior on extinction, which would be like, let's say they're tantruming, right? Most of the time it could be because they want access to something, or they lost access to something, or they are trying to communicate something, or they want attention. And so the antecedent is why. The behavior is the tantrum or the throwing stuff or the punching somebody or whatever. The consequence is what happens right after. Typically, they get what they wanted. They get, here, take it, have it, whatever. So then this teaches them, oh, I'm going to continue to increase this behavior, right? Because this is all I have to do to get what I want. So I came in and I helped them to not, like, ignore the behavior. What do you want from this? And so, it would like help to shift their lives, Yeah. And so I was doing that work when I was in LA before I moved to San Antonio.
Got it.
So then when I came back, I went right back to that work so that I could fund my certification course.
Oh, wow.
When I took that course, my life changed. Like, I pulled myself out of the sunken place. And this is why I say I don't care what nobody say. I know energy work works, because I was going to church, but I was still getting triggered and still stuff was happening, right? I was doing my yoga, and yoga is great, but you still have to have an intention. Like, you need it all, right? So when I started to do energy work and I started to learn crystal therapy and aromatherapy, I started to learn breath work, I started to learn sound therapy, I started to learn these things. It shifted the vibration in my home. It shifted my relationship. It shifted my relationship with myself. Like, nothing else worked like that worked. So it pulled me out of the sunken place to where I began to, like, thrive, and the weight started falling off and all the things, because it was actually emotional weight. It was spiritual weight. It was so much more.
It was waste.
It was waste, exactly. It was so much more than just the physical, and things manifest on the spiritual before the physical, And so I don't remember where I was going with this, but I'm gonna just say, like, that's how I ended up tapping into this world. And then the pandemic hit. And I was already prepared, because I had already done the work. I had already done the
alchemized so
much. So I would practice. I offered donation-based one-on-one energy healing sessions. I did them virtually. I did them in person. I probably have worked with like 100 people in maybe like 2 months. That's when I learned. That's when I was able to cultivate my gifts and know, like, oh no, this stuff works because of people's reviews and their experience and things like that. Then I went on a 6-city sound healing tour. I went to San Antonio. Excuse me.
No, hell no.
I did not. I went to Milwaukee, my hometown. I went to Nashville, where I went to college. I went to Vegas, where I grew up as well. I went to Houston, and then I went to Atlanta, where I didn't live at the time, and then I finished it in LA. And so doing all of that kind of really, like, honed in on, like, the gifts that I have, that this is my calling. Like, I was called to it. It wasn't like I was like, I'm gonna be a healer, I'm whatever. It was just like I always knew. And I tried the psychology route, the social route, but it was all like, all of those were building blocks. Because now when I'm helping and assisting someone, I'm able to come from my background in psychology, philosophy, social work, spirituality, and behavioral therapy, and create this beautiful cup. And then now, I'm a medicine woman. I work with plant medicine. And, I'm a doula, so I help bring life in and help life that's transitioning. So I've, like, just continue to, like, build this toolkit, because I know ultimately I'm a vessel and a channel, and spirit trusts me so much. And I have gone through the fire. I've gone through so many things. So again, shame, guilt, not knowing, like, if I wanted to wake up the next day, not knowing who I was, having men be the center of my life at certain points, just different things, to where I've been able to really center in and be so present with Ashley and present with spirit, that I am, like, in such a place of joy I'm in such a place of presence. Like, I'm like, yo, like, I look back at pictures and I look back at like just different versions of me in my life, and I'm just like, you did it. Like, you really have, you've healed the trauma, you've done the things, and now I'm going back and now I'm bringing up and healing and things that are happening in my lineage and my pathology. My grandmother will be transitioning soon, and I've had moments where I've connected with her spirit and have been like just helping her work through on a spiritual level, transitioning with love and like letting go of things. And because I am her, she is me, like I can feel some of the pain and agony that is still is in me. And so I found myself working with Hape and purging some of her pain and agony, working with Bufo and purging like just stuff that's in my lineage, like, you know what I mean? And it's such a beautiful journey.
Yeah.
All the tools are so helpful and so needed.
All the tools. That's one of the things I was going to mention. The holistic a mentality and approach to wellness. Like everything is connected, and we should open ourselves up to, not so much like, oh, let's just try everything, but be open and know that, like you were saying earlier, we know nothing. Because how could we know something if a year from now we might think differently about it? So what did you know? What did you actually know? You just know that you're here. And that you're aware of whatever is going on right now.
Right. And you're trusting, right? And when you say be open, I think what tends to happen is because we've been programmed from propaganda, you know, just even to Disney movies and things like that, which I love them. I'm a girl. I just watch Moana in the theaters by myself. But there are certain things like when you, in these movies and in these things, when we see our ancestral practices, they're seen as evil and and like bad. So we have that ingrained within us. And then a lot of our ancestors were beaten and killed and destroyed for practicing certain of these things. So we feel that in there too. And then we were indoctrinated in a certain way to believe that doing these things are wrong and they're bad and they're all these things, and we be condemned from them. So it's understandable that things come up that you would not be open, right? And it's sometimes it's in your parasympathetic system, it's in your nervous system. You feel these things, but if you can push past that and use your mind and allow yourself to actually ask yourself, why do I feel this fear? Why do I feel the need to condemn this? Is this me, or is this somebody in the pulpit? Is this me, or is this something that I saw such and such say? Why am I so afraid? I always think about this quote that says, the jump is so frightening between where I am and where I want to be, but because of all I may become, I will close my eyes and leap. And I think about that every time I'm scared. It's that courage. Because of all I may become, it's scary, but it feels good. So like, of course, like you said, not jumping into anything and all things, but if it's something that you have a curiosity about, but you feel a fear, question that fear, feel the fear, and do it anyway, because on the other side of it, right? I'm in a space right now where I've experienced betrayal and just different things, communing with the masculine. And now I'm in a space where I get to challenge the defenses that were created from, I spent 2 years just not dating, just really doing my work, creating my foundation, having moved from LA to Atlanta, just like really focusing on my business and where spirit is leading me. And now I'm in a space of communing with the masculine again. And I'm feeling the fear and moving through it anyway, right? I'm feeling the things because it's like, this feels good. Now, am I going to do what I always have done? Am I going to run? Am I going to respond because of something that happened in the past? Or am I going to be present with what's in front of me right now? And move and have the tough conversation and be vulnerable, be open and let the wall down. So I'm in that space right now in my life. So it's like, when you get from one level, one layer to the next, and it's feeling the fear and doing it anyway because of all I may become. If I stay stuck in this then I'll still be here.
That's all that would be.
But if I desire something so much more, you know my song Type Love, I desire that type of love. So that means that I'm going to have to show up in a certain way.
You're going to have to participate.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to have to participate.
I got to.
What you said about vulnerability, I think people get scared of that vulnerability because they feel like, yes, vulnerability, I do feel like vulnerability is a gift to everyone involved, right? If they're ready for that vulnerability. But women are like, why should I be vulnerable? He didn't do this, and the vulnerability doesn't mean no boundaries, right?
Yes.
It doesn't mean not having boundaries. Like, you really should definitely have your boundaries kind of like, at least like a soft launch of boundaries in your brain before you just go around being vulnerable. But the vulnerability is like an asset, like a key to, I guess, being all you can be.
Yeah, and attracting something that's actually for you, right? Because I feel like often, I want to speak for myself, but I think a lot of women can relate to feeling like you have to perform, you know, when it comes to the masculine, or when it comes to any way, just like you have to perform in a certain way, I have to be a certain way, I have to show up in this way, and if I don't, but then you're going to attract something that isn't necessarily what's for you, because your authentic self isn't showing up. So then you attract whatever, like, you know what I'm saying, and it's actually not for you, and then you wonder why, but it's because you weren't able to be your full self. And so I'm learning to be my full self in all the things, but also have my boundaries. I might say, you know, be patient with me. I'm not ready to open up in that way yet, you know. That's my boundary. I'm open, I'm being authentic and honest, like I'm just not ready right now, but be patient with me, I'm gonna get there.
So the authentic self and vulnerable self are kind of hand in hand.
Absolutely.
You can't really, you need to be authentic so that you can attract what is for you, and then it feels vulnerable to be authentic.
Yeah, I feel like, how can you be authentic without being vulnerable? Yeah. Right? Or one or the other, because to be vulnerable is to show yourself, right? And to be authentic is to show yourself. Yeah. So I do feel like they go hand in hand, and it can be scary, but it's actually one of the most powerful things. But I do feel like boundaries, where you can have a moment where you're like, I don't want to share that, which I haven't shared, which if we get to it, we do, about my son and that thing. I haven't ever really fully shared that. But I'm in a space to share that, like, you know what I'm saying now. But I feel like with him, I was always being authentic. It just was a boundary as far as, I'm not ready to be vulnerable in that way, because I need to make sure I know what's going on here, right? So that's like, when you communing with the masculine or with anyone or any space, make sure you know what's going on and you feel good and solid before you are vulnerable and open in that way.
That's the key, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're not, when you're advising women that vulnerability is beautiful and precious, it's still like they're stepping stones to that vulnerability and who actually deserves it. Exactly. That authenticity. I want to go back, because you were talking about the vulnerability, you were talking about, and I tied it into authenticity, because that makes sense to me. And you were talking about your postpartum depression and your postpartum anxiety, and the authenticity of a new mother, being able to be authentic, being able to, like how you were saying, you looked at your son, he looked at you, and you might have wanted to have been like, you know what I'm saying? Like, can you, and a lot of women are not able to, or feel like they can show how they really feel. Like, it's almost like the mother stops being important, stops being a human first, stops being like a whole soul, just like the one that they've brought through. And then that creates isolation. When you were going through that process, how did it feel for you? And then I kind of want to tag along, maybe you can share with like some of the women that you work with who are mothers. Is it pretty like common for there to be like almost like new mother trauma in a sense?
Oh, absolutely. So my experience with postpartum depression, it really was like, what did I get myself into? Like, I really gotta, like, this person is my responsibility, and that's my child. You have the child with the man, but that's, as a woman, that's your child, right? Y'all are both parents, but that's your baby. And every mother knows exactly what I mean when I say that. And the anxiety was always feeling like something bad was gonna happen. Like, I'd be driving in San Antonio, they got these highways that like go all the way up on these stilts, and I'd be scared like we'd fall off, or it would just, I would have, and I didn't have anyone to talk to about it because I didn't know what was going on. So that's when I ended up seeking psychotherapy, because I couldn't sleep and like all these different things. And another thing, so there's that trauma, right? Because most people are calling and they're like asking about the baby. Oh, they calling me, how's Hendrix? But no one's asking how I'm doing. And then other mothers, even like I had time where even my mother and my sister, they didn't understand at the time, and now they do, and they've apologized for it, and I've forgiven them for it. But they would be like, well, why are you doing it like that? And back is all, lay the baby on the back, or like why is hair looking like that? Like all of these different things. And I know other new moms have experienced this, where it's like people project their what they feel like you should be as a mother, as a parent, on you, and then they're asking about the baby, but no one saying, how's your mental? What do you need? Are you hungry? And then there's always, unless there is the most solid, beautiful foundation, and that man has his own level of devotion, there's a breakdown comes in the relationship, where if there isn't a solid friendship and a solid spiritual connection, there becomes a breakdown, because the mom, again, is having to take care of this child, and with these gender roles, sometimes like the man is like not necessarily always understanding what the woman is going through and what she needs, and he's working, and he's figuring out the world himself too, as a father, and this new dynamic, and the mom not having the same attention for him as she may have had before, and not understanding what's going on. So it becomes like this huge level of disruption in the intimacy, the spiritual intimacy, of course the sexual intimacy, and the emotional intimacy, especially if it's a new mom and she doesn't understand what's going on, and she doesn't have that tribe. Me, I didn't know what was going on. I was getting condemned. I was getting lectured on everything I should be doing. Again, my son's dad was coping in the ways that he was coping, and some of those ways were very harmful and detrimental to my emotional being. And so it became like such a it can become such a lonely route. So I always now advise my clients, and even the new fathers, I'm always like, make sure you checking in. Like, y'all make sure even beforehand, y'all doing these dates, you still taking her out on dates. Like, you're like checking in on her as a human, as a person, as a person. So now, like, even me as a mom now, I have to have these moments where I'm like, I don't have my healer hat on. I don't have my mother hat on. I'm just Ashley. And I was able to have that experience in Bali. Like, after the retreat was over, I was able to, for a whole week, I was able to just be.
You stayed longer.
I stayed a week later, and I didn't have my child, and I wasn't working, and I was able to be with my homegirls. It felt like college again. Like, I was able to just be, and that was so healing for me. I was able to get so much work done and feel through so many things. So as a new mom, I think it's very, very important for you to allow the dad, like, actually give him the baby, like, give him space, like, carve out time. Like, I remember I would talk to clients, and they'd be like, well, I have to do this, and I'm giving him the bath, and like, there's women that are going crazy because they're wearing all the hats. They're doing nighttime, they're cooking the food. Like, we had to get to the point, and I'm grateful to my son's dad, because he was always receptive in that way. Like, Wednesdays, and it was like Mondays and Wednesdays, he gave the baby a bath, he put the baby to sleep. Like, I had to create a schedule, and it actually worked so well, because now as we co-parent, and we're so used to our schedule, that it just kind of like shifted in the most beautiful way. So where we co-parent in a beautiful way. But yeah, I always say like dedicate those times, because if you don't insert it, they feel like you can do it all, because you do it all, and you're not supposed to do it all. We were not operating in that way. Like, there was mom and grandma and auntie and cousins, and like the more and more in this new realm, it's less all the family around. Like people are in different states and different things, so we're more and more isolated, and that can become such a hard thing. And so for me, when we moved back to LA, I was trying to find my footing and things like that, but I also was noticing, because it was and this was before the pandemic, but because we were in Texas and we didn't have any family around, my son Hendrix, I was noticing he wasn't speaking. He wasn't really talking like that. He was extremely brilliant. Reading, math, all the things, like so brilliant. I was a math whiz, so I feel like it just kind of like, and his dad was too, so it crumbled down, but he didn't have any like friends and cousins and all that around, so his speech wasn't what it was supposed to be. And then I would notice, like when we moved to LA, because I worked in thank God, like because I worked as a behavioral therapist, I was able to see little signs that I would take him to the doctor and like, oh, he's fine. So I got him speech therapy on my own. I just started to do certain things because I'm like, no, something is off. And I decided on my own, I knew like he could benefit from the resources that you get, like no matter what, whether it's a tutor or ABA or whatever, like a child being able to have one-on-one connection with someone that is their profession is like the best thing. So I personally went and got my baby diagnosed because I knew he had autism. I knew it. I knew he was high functioning, but I knew that I just knew it, right? So I went and I didn't listen to the doctors. I didn't listen to anything. I listened to that still small voice, and I got him diagnosed. But the reason why I got him diagnosed, people were like, well, what about the label and what about the things? I'm like, first of all, autism, especially as it relates to my son, I'm like, I knew he was on the spectrum, but I just know that he's extremely gifted, right? He uses more of his brain than the average person does. So that means that he's going to need some support being around normal as people. Like, you know what I mean? Sense. He's going to need some support. So let me give him some tools to be able to function, because when I look at Kanye West, I know he's on the spectrum, and he may not have had certain tools to be able to communicate and function in society in a certain type of way and have strategy around it. So now he's the way he is now. Brilliant man, genius, but his social functioning is a little off, right? And so with my son, I was noticing, I noticed certain things, and I'm like, let's nip it in the bud now. That's why when anybody is to meet him, they don't believe he is, but I know that he operates on multiple dimensions, right? So I know that he is wise beyond his means and ahead of his time and all these things, so certain people wouldn't know. I didn't want him to like be in school, especially working in school and working in the systems. I didn't want him to go and like may have a behavior or something, and then they put him in this school to prison pipeline type of thing because of his behavior. Now, because I got him diagnosed, he's able to get an IEP, he's able to get these things, so now he's getting extra services. So people think that when a kid has an IEP or when they get these diagnoses, that it's a negative thing, but it's really just a way that you look at it, because why not get your baby all the resources and all the support they can get so that they can function at their best, right? He gets his speech twice a week, and he still gets speech, because I'm like, until they like know, get all the extra support and foundation you can get so that you can speak at the best level. My baby is like the 98th percentile in math, 60, 70 something in reading. It's like, let's get better. So there was a time, like I said, he wasn't really talking. He would have like these regressions, and I found out, and so anyone that is in Atlanta or anywhere, look at your resources. ABA therapy is extremely expensive, but if you are in Atlanta and you can't get Medicaid, there's something called Katie Beckett. And if your child has a diagnosis, you can apply for that. And when you apply for that, they help to pay for whatever your insurance doesn't pay for, they pay for the rest of it. The ABA center that my son went to would have been $90,000 for that year. Wow. We didn't have to pay anything because I did the research, I did the things, I applied for the things.
That you are you can use the resources effectively and not let them use you when you are an active mother who's taking the time to learn what it all means and not just saying, go to this class. They say it's great.
They say it's great. Or be like, no, ain't nothing wrong with my child. Because no, there is nothing wrong with your child. Your child is actually extremely gifted and your child can use resources. That's just like someone that's gifted in music. What you're going to do, you're going to go find them a music tutor. You're going to put them in a music school. You're going to do certain things to help to ignite and to push that gift. And it's the same thing when it comes to being on the spectrum. And one thing that really helped me to prepare myself for my child was human design and astrology. Like I was able to look at his human design and see certain things, look at his astrology, look at his houses, and look at the planets and the signs that he was in. So I knew like, oh, okay, his work is going to be coming out of his inner world and expanding outwardly, right? So spiritually and like human designly and like numerology, like looking at things on a metaphysical level, astrology is autism is just kind of like giving it a name so that you can get the support that you can get. But if you look at your child's chart, if you look at who they are on a spiritual level, emotional level, a mental level, looking through all the auras, you already know, like you'll be able to know what they need and know that this is just a resource. So this is a reason why I've actually never publicly talked about my son and being on the spectrum, and this is my first time because I am not a person that is a label person, right? There's people that are on social media and they're like, I'm an autism mom and I'm a whatever, and that's great if that's what you need for a community, but I know how powerful words are and I know how powerful things are, and it's like beyond the label. I'm a mom whose son is on the spectrum, and I use those tools, you know what I'm saying, to help support him. But ultimately, he's just a super brilliant human.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a YouTube that I was just watching the other day. It's like kind of a community that I'm tapped into, but talking about the souls that are coming through and how they're so advanced that they really don't need to talk. And listening to you talk about your son and how advanced he is, and like, okay, yeah, he's not talking, and that's what we want, and that's what we see as normal, but it's like maybe he's like, y'all waste too many words, y'all talk too much, and he's literally coming from this space of just like the new kind of souls that are coming through.
Ashe. And that's one thing I realized, because at the time when he wasn't talking all these things, and I'm going through my depression and all that, I'm like, I just want him to be okay. But when I began to really become even more solid in my spiritual foundation, I began to just trust and know and listen and hear and move and be like, he's good. And now he's social, he's talking, he's doing all, like, it's great. But he's observing, right? He can see energy, he can see, like, he's a baby Buddha, like, he is really great. And like you said, that just reminded me of even Beyonce. She said she didn't talk till she was like 8.
Oh, wow.
And like, look how brilliant she is. She's brilliant in her craft. You know what I mean? So I'm excited to see who he becomes and just continue to nurture and guide that. And so I just say to any mother, astrology, human design, hit me up if you need help and support with that. I'm actually want to do like a class series to help mothers, you know, with children on the spectrum or whatever, to just kind of like get to know who your child is on a soul level. So instead of being like, I don't know why he like that, and try to change, just accept, because accepting is the antidote, it's the medicine. Accept what is, and then you can be able to move around. But when it's so much like, why me, or why my child, or just so much resistant, it's like you making like this it's like it's creating a fight when it could become a dance. It could become a beautiful dance of like, this is who this human is. They chose me as their mother. I have the tools to guide them, and what I don't have, I can find the resources. There's resources everywhere to help children all over.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and I'm excited for that. I know a lot of women are going to. It's going to be a good thing when people start shifting the mindset and seeing that this is not a problem, this is an opportunity.
It is.
I do want to end on this. I want to end on, just give us a brief explanation of what is human design. And I hear people talk about it all the time. I think I got I think I'm a
manifestor
generator.
I remember that. Manifesting generator.
Manifesting generator. And I love that I'm that. But what is this, and how significant is it to us as we move forward?
Oh, it's such a tool. It's such a beautiful, amazing tool. So I love to explain human design like the Lion King, right? So I'll explain it in that way. So just briefly, human design, this man named Ra, he was a manifestor, and he created this, like, he was studying numerology, astrology, and all of these different type of things, and he realized that humans were kind of becoming like these, they were organized into like 4 to 5 different types, right? So you have your manifestors. Manifestors to me are like Mufasa. They're the lion. Like, they run the pride. They have this big, impactful energy. But most of the time, they laying around, they chilling. But like, when it's time for them to get shit done, when it's time for them, like, they're gonna have that big impact. They're gonna roar. They're gonna do what they need to do.
Yeah.
Inspire the entire, jungle. But then they're gonna chill. They're not manifesting generators. They're the lioness. They have that same manifestor, that same impactful energy, but they going in hunting, and they getting stuff done, and they bringing the food back, so they have a little bit more of that like generator energy. Then we have projectors.
Okay.
Projectors are the ones that are like the guides. They see things in a certain way. Projectors are like Rafiki. You know how Rafiki, he knew what was going on. He just had like these visions, these knowings. I see that as projectors. And then I see the generators are the builders, right? They're here to inspire. They're here to build. I see that as the rest of the tribe. And I see generators that's like when the stampede goes, when a generator goes, it like in their mind is on something, they're going. They're the people that can work 9 to 5, 5 to 9. I could never. Like, in most, there's like maybe 50-something% of generators in the world where there are only 8 to 9% of manifestors. There are about 30-some% of manifesting generators, 20-some% of projectors. So manifestors are one of the most rare, but one of the rarest, but the most rare are reflectors, and they are about 1%, I believe, something like that, and they reflect back. So when they're around, they're reflecting you to you, like, you know what I'm saying? So they don't have a lot of energy. They won't be around a lot. But what happens with human design, and what makes it so important, so useful, and such an amazing tool, is that one, it helps you to see your design, because sometimes you could be a projector or a manifestor and you're acting like a generator, because generators have the energy to go. But we actually work better when we take a lot of time to rest, because that's when we can pull down what we need to do to bring to the collective. And I had to learn that, because I used to be working like a Jamaican. Like, I used to be.
Do you think I could be majority manifestor and generator? Because I need my rest. I thrive with rest.
Yes.
I'm not I'm not a hustler.
Yes, you could
But
like, because it also
like,
depends on your profile, right? Which is a whole nother thing, like those numbers, because that explains stuff too. And then when you look at the chart, it's like these different things filled in. But absolutely, because you have manifestor energy and you have generator energy, right? But as a manifesting generator, like, you can have this going, right? You can do this, like, you make an impact, but you have just enough energy, not a stampede energy, but you have enough energy to burn yourself out, and then like rest, and then kind of like start over again. You know what I mean?
Okay, that makes sense.
Where me, I don't know. We're 80% rest, 20% do. So that's where it's sometimes hard for me to keep up with social media and stuff like that, because it's like, I don't really have the energy, I don't have the inspiration. But then when I do, it's like, or like when I bring something down, like when I brought Journey of a Goddess down, it's like, who does that? Who stars produce all of this? And then it's like, and now I'm done with that. I'm done. Like, that was that. Now I'm on the next thing. Now I'm doing music. And like, you know what I mean? And so, but the important thing, and like what makes it such a beautiful tool, is to know like how you're designed to operate when you're in your not self, right? For a manifesting generator, when you're frustrated, you're not what comes up is not the best version of Kayla. Right?
For sure.
You know what I mean? For me, it's and your signature is satisfaction. Like, when you're feeling a space of satisfaction, it's like all is well. You are in alignment. For me as a manifestor, it's peace. Like, when I'm typically feeling that peace, I know I'm in alignment when I feel that peace. That's why I was like, I'm in such a place right now, I just feel joy. I know I'm in alignment. But when anger shows up, it's scary for get out the way. Like, get out the way. You know what I mean? Because, and that anger is showing me that it's something. And then for generators, it's frustration as well. For projectors, it's bitterness. If you ever know a projector and they bitter, they just mad about something or whatever, they are not in their right self. So it's it shows you certain things about you. And it gets very, very deep and intricate. Like, I studied it for like 3 years before. I've studied it for a while, but I did 3 years of very intense study, because there's lines and there's different energy centers similar to the chakras that kind of like explain, if they're defined, how you show up consistently. If they're undefined, how you might be conditioned, or how you show up differently depending on who you're around. So it's really, really deep and dope. And so I study my sons, I study mine. So I'm like, I know who he is. I know when certain things happen or whatever. I don't take it personally. I'm not punishing him. I'm knowing like, okay, he's angry right now. He's in his not self. Let me give him a moment to calm down, and then I'll come back. And he's a manifestor like me too. So.
Okay. Well, I love that. I love that this is I'm sure it's not new, but I'm just hearing about it in the last like year or so. And it sounds to me like it's a way to be really high functioning.
Yes.
If you learn about it and can kind of believe in what's going on.
It's a real life blueprint. Like, it's a blueprint, and it really, like, if you just want to level up and you like, if you want to understand like your purpose a little bit more, just how you can just make life work for you in a easeful way with less resistance, is very helpful. To me, I like it because it's a little bit more, I don't want to say black and white, but it's just a little bit more like mathy, I would say, like for my math brain, than astrology. I feel like astrology gets a little bit, and I love astrology, but it gets a little like woo-woo. Whereas like human design is very just like, all right, this is your gate. This means this. This means that. It's super like sciencey, and I'm like a science, mathematician type of chick. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. Well, I'm gonna dig more into it. I mean, I feel like I need to because remember, I don't know the time that I was born.
Yes.
I'll talk to you more about it. I'm glad you're going to be doing workshops or courses, or what are you doing? 101s for human design?
So I'm going to do like a workshop for working for mothers to help them to understand their child's human design and their just to help them so that it just help with their parenting and even with their co-parenting. Because if you understand your co-parents' human design or their charges, whatever, it can help you even with how you interact with them and bring ease. However, I'm always doing like, people book me all the time for like a 101 in that way. So, but girl, you could just hit me. But if anybody wants to do a human design reading, I do them sparingly, because energy,
protecting your, preserving all that stuff. So I love that, because it sounds like we left here with information on how we can really create blueprints for ourselves in our lives, and I love that. Before we leave, just look there and tell everyone where they can find you, everything that you have going on that you want to share, and then we're gonna be up out of here.
Okay. Peace and greetings. What's up, y'all? Once again, I am Ashley Curtis, and you can find me on Instagram at I am Ashley Curtis. You can find me really on YouTube, all the things, all the social medias at I am Ashley Curtis. You can stream my music on all platforms. It's Ashley Jaleesa. I have Type Love, I have Do You Love You, and I have a lot more music that I'm dropping soon. Visit my website, thejourneyhealingoasis.com. I have a retreat coming up in June of 2025 in Mexico. It's a plant medicine retreat. I have a retreat in September of 2025. February, Bali 2026. So I'm always hosting retreats, plant medicine retreats. If you are in Atlanta or close in the area, you check out my website. You'll be able to just see all the experiences I have that help you to tap into yourself and really experience both of those realms. And I think I answered everything. My wish and my offering to you is to just continue to walk in your authenticity, to continue to challenge indoctrination, to continue to challenge moments where you feel the need to condemn, and ask yourself, what about you are you ignoring, or what about you are you condemning yourself, and just give yourself more compassion and be open to all the things.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Thank you.